Hello, Ryan here, and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday. This is a weekly show which covers all of the news from the week just past. Be sure to subscribe if you like what you see, and let's get on with it. This week, 3.15 finally goes live. 3.15.1 has already entered the PTU, plus we learn all about the future of space combat. So this week's Inside Star Citizen was focused completely on the future of space combat. Now, we spoke to a couple of members from the Space Combat team who are made up of multiple members of various teams throughout CIG, and the main thing about the team is that it's made up of people who are invested in space combat and they are actively playing the game and wanting to make combat as good as it can be. Now, the team went back through all the previous Star Citizen releases and analysed all the features that were most loved and interesting, and also deciding what wasn't good. They have also been studying the works of a chap called John Boyd, who I recently learnt was a US Air Force fighter pilot and consultant who influenced the introduction of some of the greatest fighter jets still used today, like the F-16 and FA-18, as well as a dogfighting and military strategist. They then had a lot of conversations with experts in the field, like armed forces pilots, or those with a lot of knowledge in dogfighting, and many of the team even had dogfighting lessons in a flight simulator with former RAF pilots. And then they brought all of this knowledge together through a series of combat summits with focus on PvP, creating a 12-month plan. Now, I am very happy to hear just how invested this team is to creating the flight combat system. This kind of knowledge will most certainly shape the experience to feel incredible, and as Yogi put it, they are trying to create a realistic experience, but will take it back to the point of fun, as they are not aiming for realism, they are aiming for believability and enjoyment. So for ship combat specifically, CIG's high-level goals are they want meaningful decision making, so giving players options and providing the data to allow us to act upon that, giving every vehicle, weapon and item a definitive purpose in the game, then finally embrace the limitations to create interesting dilemmas and choices. So basically there isn't a best option for anything, it's all based on many factors that we the players have to choose, and each choice has pluses and minuses depending on the situation. Now it also needs to feel believable, so CIG are not just artificially creating these limitations, they are actually coming from the real consequences from the systems that they have built. And the final goal is to avoid meta gameplay, which we have heard about in the past, which they do say is difficult. They realize it's going to be hard, but they will try. And I personally think it is possible, mostly due to the upcoming physical material system. So to get all of this done for 3.14 and 3.15, they are firstly establishing a new combat foundation. So as we have seen in 3.14, they removed all the granularity to space combat balance and focused on the base combat experience first. So what they have done is assigned all the ships to specific archetypes, which means no best ship for everything, and also kicked off the multi-crew experience, for example creating a purpose to have more players in one ship as opposed to taking out multiple ships. B, they are stripping back weapons to 2 archetypes. So far we have anti-fighter weapons and anti-large ship weapons, which will be expanded upon in the future. More about this in a second. C is to do with shields. They have simplified many of the ship's shield dynamics to make them more readable and easier to balance. And then D, finally, they introduced capacitor gameplay, which allows us to manage kind of the ship's stamina for weapons, thrusters and shields. So there are quite a few improvements coming in the short term. These include A, G-force exhaustion, so they will be reducing the G-force thresholds to bring more skill back to how we handle our ships, requiring maneuvers to help us recover, so making G-force a lot more punishing. B, expanding on weapon archetypes and variations, like specialized weaponry to use against maybe infantry, anti-missile and anti-ordnance weapons like CIWS or interceptor missiles, suppression weapons, as well as jack-of-all-trade weapons that are kind of jack-of-all-trades, masters of none. So usable against everything but not the best weapon of choice for a specific reason. Also, they will introduce anti-fighter cannons and large ship Gatlings again sometime in the future. So for C, shield variance is also on the short-term plans, and in 3.15 they are reintroducing differences between the shield generators again, making them more diverse. giving players more choice for what they might need, but they won't make them as influential as they were in the past, as they still want players' skill to be the deciding factor of a battle. I do believe in 3.15 it has been said that they are reintroducing the shield grading, so grade A, B, C, D, I think through to E, so hopefully we'll get some more information on that soon. For D, the power triangle will be getting some love as well, like introducing a non-linear curve to add more dynamics and thought to managing systems. Also, they want to have the weapon capacitor assignments affect turrets as well. Plus, for 3.15, they are adding a minimum regen to all assignments, even if you have the assignment all the way in one direction. So for example, you could have your power triangle all the way assigned to weapons, and your shields and thrusters will still generate, but very slowly as opposed to not at all. So E, they're also working on flight tuning. So for 3.14, they did tune all the ships into more of an archetype style, which means that they lost a lot of the characteristics, reducing the fun handling differences. And so they will be tuning the ships to be more realistic again, using their thrusters rather than just magically altering the ship numbers, although this is more of a medium to long-term effort. But for 3.15, they have included the option for your TVI, or True Vector Indicator visibility, to be altered, so you can have it so it never fades away, or you can remove it completely, which I personally wouldn't recommend. I would always have mine either disappear over time or be visible consistently, but obviously it is each to their own. So continuing on, we have F, which is the Ifcs Trimming, and they will be introducing trimming for the Intelligent Flight Control System, which will allow players who play decoupled to hover at certain altitudes, but they also looked at how military helicopters implement trimming systems and are looking to introduce this for dual stick users, to allow players to maybe set their stick at a specific angle, press a button, and then your ship will continue to move as if that input was continuously applied. It's currently in a prototype state, but this will also allow for mouse and keyboard players to have smooth thruster controls again. So for G, we have gunnery, and in 3.15, they have fixed the auto gimbal issue, stabilizing the crosshairs so they will no longer go all over the place. However, they are not really too happy with the auto gimbal system at the moment, as it is a bit of a skill bridge, so going forwards they will investigate what the actual purpose of auto gimbal is. And I'm really happy they are doing this, as it was really just a temporary hotfix to alleviate the desync issues, so finding a real purpose for auto gimbal would be nice. They are also investigating options to disable the weapon assists, and for 3.16 they are adding staggered fire groups for pilots, so it staggers between each weapon type. And the final short-term changes are for turrets, looking into ways to create better weapon capabilities without changing the weapon itself, investigating shared weapon capacitor items for the pilot, so for example having a pilot request the gunner to maybe turn off their weapons to allow more power elsewhere, for example. We will also see more on all of these short-term plans as they get closer to being finished. Now next they spoke about their long-term plans for space combat, which also means that everything they speak of here is yet to start development and could change over time. The previous stuff we spoke about is in the works, but there are no set dates, of course. So firstly, there is dedicated high-speed flight mode. They are aware that the high-speed combat doesn't work very well, so they will be looking more into that one. Next, we have ballistic ammo management, and they are aware as well that ballistic ammo counts are very low right now, which they say is because the physical armor system isn't online yet. So do expect changes for ballistic ammo and its management sometime in the future. They also want to introduce an Emp Operator Mode, as they know that we need more information and data to effectively shut down an enemy ship, and I do like the sound of this, providing data on a screen that we can see about our opponent's ship and systems so that we can effectively manage our EMP to shut it down properly. Love that idea. They're also toying with the idea of flak weapons as more of an area of denial weapon that works against fighters, missiles, and potentially other incoming projectiles. They're also working with the AI team to teach proper maneuvering and less abusive flight behaviors. I'm assuming maybe flying directly into someone, as well as ammo management rather than cheating it with the NPCs. And finally, they want to deepen the capacity gameplay, like more management and other more active effects. So lastly, they explained how the community is vital to the whole process. Many of these design decisions have been based upon our proposals. We provide the data for balancing, allowing them to tackle the issues or balance the problems and more. So going forward, they will like to do more playtesting, and they also read every Spectrum thread as well, so keep your thoughts coming in. So that was the future of combat inside Star Citizen, one of my favourite episodes in fact, that fills me with so much more confidence that they are really going to all the lengths to establish the best possible flight combat system for Star Citizen. The fact that they are talking to experts and using real-world examples as points of reference, I feel is very important, and when all is said and done, should create one heck of a combat system. It was a shame not to hear more regarding the physical damage and material system. I guess it's not really on them to design that, but I'm sure we will have an update on that in the near future. Anyway, really enjoyed hearing what they have been working on, what they plan to work on next and in the future, plus how they're going about doing this. And with these updates to Arena Commander, I think I will probably start getting in a bit more with flight combat. I didn't really want to jump into it too much because it's so much in flux at the moment that I don't want to learn something and then have to keep relearning it. Maybe 3.15 is a good time to get back into it, but I still think there's a long way to go, especially with everything they listed off here. But maybe there's something there to be learned. Anyway, let us move on. So also this week, the server meshing and persistence streaming Q&A finally hit Spectrum, which really sheds a lot more light into CIG's plans for these two major aspects of Star Citizen's backend. I do highly recommend reading this, but I also do plan to cover this in a separate video, but it all depends on whether I get time or not, especially with 3.15 now live. Talking of which, I hope everyone is having as great an experience as I was having in 3.15. I have not really played much of 3.15 live, but I will be introducing more gameplay to the channel, hopefully starting with a new Zero to Hero series for YouTube, starting out with an Aurora and just seeing how we get on. I am also looking to take a deeper look at the new features 3.15 offers in more detail, but literally on the day that 3.15 went live, I think it was the same day, 3.15.1 dropped on the PTU, which introduced clouds at MicroTech, which look phenomenal. I had a quick fly through them and my god, they're beautiful. Still a bit of artifacting, so there's a lot more work to be done on them, but they are looking much better. As well as both the Starfighters, the Ares Inferno and Ion, and the Aegis Redeemer. Now this is in prep for the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, which is less than a week away, and I'm getting all very excited for it. Squadron 42's monthly report was released, which I have already covered in a separate video that I will link in the description below. This week's lore post was a portfolio post highlighting CC Conversions, who are an inverse manufacturer of unique armor sets. Many of the subscriber flare armors and helmets that we get are actually from CC Conversions. And finally, this week's Star Citizen Live was with Gavin Rothery, discussing his career and what it's like to design spaceships for Star Citizen. So that brings us to the end of the show. If you do enjoy my content, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button. Also, I am able to do this thanks to my very generous patrons and channel members. If you appreciate what I do and would like to help make it even better from as little as $1 a month, all of the links are provided below.